Hi guys, Aaron Leaf Green, and today I am not the Green Psychic, I am the Art and Crafter. Okay, I hope you guys are really well. I'm going to introduce you guys into polymer clay tonight. Now, before we get into it, just very quickly, I want to point out to everybody watching that the people that watch these videos range from ages 9 to 97. Okay, so a lot of what I'm going to say is going to go over people's heads, but I'm going to try and communicate in a way that everybody can understand. Now, why I'm giving you this little heads up is because I'm about to talk about tutorials. For those people that don't know what a tutorial is. Those people that do, give me like a minute and a half, bear with me. Alright, so I'm about to introduce you to polymer clay, what it is, what you can do with it, some of the things you can do with it, because it's basically endless. But this whole series that I'm working at doing with the art therapy, I want to introduce you guys to these different things like polymer clay, and resin's going to be the next one, and different things. But I'm not going to be doing tutorials on step-by-step how to do something, okay? So for those that don't know, on YouTube, well, everywhere, there's what we call tutorials. And that can be from, anybody can do a tutorial. And all it is how to do something step by step by step. So think of a cooking book. You open it up and it goes, step 1, do this, blah, 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 blah. This is what tutorials are on YouTube, except you get to watch somebody do it. So why I'm saying this is, if you do have any questions, or if you want more information about polymer clay or how to do something specifically, just go onto YouTube and type in polymer clay tutorial. And you'll get a billion different tutorials of how to do this and how to do that, and all these good things. So I don't personally, I'm not, look, to be completely honest, I don't have the time to dedicate to step-by-step how to do something. That's fine, but it's coming up with like a lesson plan for the next, no, I can't do that at the moment. What I want to do is try and give you techniques and things to explore. And inspire. That's basically what the art therapy is going to be about, inspiring. So look, I have an idea of what I want to do with these with the art stuff moving forward. But for tonight, I am going to introduce you to polymer clay, the tools, the basic tools, so you don't get ripped off, and a couple of little things of what you can do with clay. Okay, so this is probably going to be the last time you see me on camera for this video, because I'm going to change camera angles and we're going to get into it. Now, I am going to put in some links in the description box on YouTube, which I really do recommend you guys check out. Okay, so if you hit the little arrow at the bottom corner of the movie screen that you're watching me on, it should drop down and you should see descriptions with some blue hyperlinks. If you click on those, they will take you to other YouTube videos, not of mine. That's not what I'm doing. I'm referring you guys to some other inspirational art and crafters out there that have really helped me. There's going to be one in particular. Her name is the NerdEcrafter. That's her channel. And I'm going to direct you to a video she did, because she's very good at comparing different things. She got a whole bunch of different polymer clay, different brands, different colors, did a whole bunch of tests. So take that information and run with it. I really recommend, before you go out and start buying polymer clay left, right, and center, really look at this and the pros and cons, and she goes into it. Okay, now having said all that, we're going to go and jump straight into it with the tools, which are very basic. You really don't need any tools when it comes to polymer clay, but the more advanced you get, or the more into it you get, you're going to use a different set of tools. Okay, so I'll quickly run through that. Then we're going to make a very brief teddy bear, just so I can show you how the clay works. And I'm going to introduce you guys to Bacon Bond, which I don't think you can buy at Kmart, which is basically a liquid polymer clay that works as a glue. And then I'm going to introduce you to a cane or two, and I'll explain all of that. Look, I'm not going to put up an art video every Friday. It's going to be probably fortnightly. But after I do the resin video, what I'm planning on doing is Like I will use polymer clay and the canes to make maybe a vase or something, so you get an idea of what you can do with these canes if you're not into making jewelry. But I'm just going to have the video up and just fast forward through it so you can watch it with a little bit of music without me talking. Hey, hooray! Just so you guys can watch it and be inspired by it, because I, I am one of these people that watch a lot of art and craft stuff, and I get hypnotized by it, and then I'm like, look, I don't like the colors that they use, but I like how they drew that or how they did that. I could do this with something else. So that's what I'm trying to do. Stir those creative juices. Now, again, remember that this is art therapy, as in this is to take your mind off stuff. Look, if you're taking this up as a hobby, great. But it is designed that when you're stressed or when you're anxious or when you're worried or down or whatever, dive into this realm and take a break from everything else. So that's another reason why I don't want to do tutorials on my channel specifically, because I want you guys to go down the rabbit hole and experience what's out there when it comes to polymer clay and resin and art and different things. And there's going to be so very much that you're going to be like, I could never do that. Yet when you look at how easy it is, it's actually really easy. Okay, so never say never. Anyway, I'll leave you guys with it. I hope this helps. Okay, you'll want to start off with some sort of non-slip mat, like a silicone mat, or an old piece of glass, such as from a photo frame. Um, Next, you'll be getting an acrylic roller, a rolling pin to flatten things out. You'll get it in most craft packs, tool packs. You'll need a tissue blade, which is really handy for cutting through the clay smooth and even. Also, it's flexible, it's lightweight, and if you end up sticking your project to the glass or to the ground or something and need to cut it off, you can just slide the blade under and it will easily remove the piece, which comes in handy when you're working with polymer canes. The last thing is some sort of ball stylus. Now, this is just a substitute for your finger, okay, to get into small parts. That's what all clay tools are for. So you can also just use a toothpick, and that's basically it. You're good to go. Okay, so now we get to the clay. And as you can see, it is firm, and if I push on it, it's hard. So we do what we call conditioning clay, which is squishing it and rolling it in your hands. Easiest way for a couple of minutes to soften up the clay so it's easier to work with. Okay, after a few minutes, it should be a lot softer. You can pull it apart, squish it a lot easier, as you can see, just a little bit by my intent on the clay. Once that's done, you're ready to go. So we're going to start by rolling two balls. We're making the teddy bear here. So just quickly, I'm going to show you that this clay is sticky in the sense that it sticks to itself and other things. As you can see, it doesn't fall apart, but it's not sticky on your hands, like it doesn't feel like glue. So we're going to make two balls, one for the belly, one for the head. It's not the best ball, but you get the point. I am not doing my best version of this teddy bear, I will be completely honest, because my whole idea here is to demonstrate to you what you can do, just as a little example. And don't forget to check out the YouTube tutorials all over the place. You can make any animal, anything you want, but this is just one aspect. We will get to polymer canes. Oh, why can't I say that? And jewelry in a sec. So I know this is another reason why I didn't want to do tutorials, because it's too complicated getting the view and footage right. So I've stuck a little tail on his backside because we are looking down upon him. Now I'm just going to roll out another little circle, another two little circles. Oh, actually I did the feet first. So there's his little feet. So you can see him starting to emerge. How easy is this? So far we've rolled 4 balls. And that's basically what it takes to make a teddy bear, is just a series of balls. You'll find with any clay, anything that you watch with polymer clay, yeah, there's the toothpick that I meant to show earlier. Um, any polymer clay things that people make, it's just a series of shapes. It's either circle, square, triangle, whatever. So what I'm doing here is I'm taking a toothpick and I'm sticking it into the body of the bear, and I'm going to pop the head on there so it's more solid. Now, I'm only doing this, this is showing a little bit of armature, which is what, when you're doing a sculpture, normally you will have armature, which is kind of like a skeleton that you make to hold it all together. So, because I don't normally make things this tiny, and I'm not going through the smoothing process and going crazy with this, I am sticking in little bits of toothpick just to hold it in place. So feel free to do this. It just adds a bit more, um, makes it a little bit more sturdy. Now, I have actually made two bears. One I used with the sticks and one I didn't. So after they're both cooked, I will show you the difference and how easy it is to basically break little things like this if you're not careful. Um, so no, he's not. These aren't horns. These are going to be his ears. So another two little balls, which I'm going to squish ever so slightly, and pop them on as ears. Now the other thing is, I didn't actually use Bacon Bond like I said I was going to. But Bacon Bond is like a liquid clay. It's like a glue for polymer clay. So what you use it for traditionally is to, if I bake this right now, missing one ear, I could use the Bacon Bond on raw clay to stick it to the cooked clay. You also use it to stick raw polymer clay to things like glass or metal or whatever to give it an extra bond. Okay. Um, but we don't really need it in this case. I tried to avoid using it. But if I was doing little intricate things like this, I would use a little dab of bacon bond just to give it extra firm, sturdiness, whatever you want to call it. So here I am rolling a little ball to make his face. Okay, that's what I was doing. So you can make a teddy bear any way you want, but this is just going to separate his face a little bit, and then I'm going to stick on his nose and do his eyes and his tail. Okay, now I'm making the arms. So as you can see on screen, the arm isn't a flat line, it's more like a carrot or a teardrop. That's just so that the shoulders are smaller and then it's got the big cute hands at the end. I've stuck in some more toothpicks to make the hand more sturdy, and I'm just going to insert that in now. Finally, just adding the tail. And next, the eyes, which were a little bit big for me, so I cut them in half and did it again. You can place these anywhere on the face depending on your art choice. Right, now that that's done, I'm going to take my toothpick and I'm just going to give a little bit um, of a mouth here. I'm going to actually separate his cheeks, and then I'm going to put in some separations for the toes and the fingers on his feet and his hands, just to give it a little bit more character. Now, I could have done this so much better, but I'm just giving you the basics. So you can see his little feet there, his little toes. I'm going to do the same thing on the hands. And then I'm going to put in some pads for his feet, um, and then I'm going to do some toes as well. I'm also just going to remove those lines that I put down. There's no point separating the toes if you're going to add toes to it. I added the lines to show you that there's two different techniques. So as you can see here, one foot compared to the other, I prefer the pads and the toes personally, but you do you. Okay, all done so far. So I left the hands with the lines. I put the pads on the feet just to give it some variety. I'm going to bring in the other one that I made off camera, which isn't stuck together by toothpicks. Basically the same thing. I didn't bother going too overboard with it. But here they are side by side. I'm going to cook them and then we'll come back. Okay, we're now moving on to colored clay to make a polymer cane. Polymer cane. Oh my gosh, I keep thinking Die Hard. So I'm taking blue and yellow here. I'm just going to show you guys how they blend together. Also, you could have made the teddy bear out of colored clay if you haven't already. I'm planning on painting it at the end. So you get two equal size blue, yellow, whatever colors you want to blend. Blue and yellow obviously make green. Um, see the blue on my fingers? Be careful of that because the color can sometimes rub off onto the yellow. See its contamination. So I also tend to have baby wipes with me to clean my fingers and clean the surface just in case you get contamination, so you don't get contamination. So all I do is mix it together, twirl it around. You can see the colors starting to blend. If you do this just a little bit like I have done now, you get a marbling effect, which can be really cool. But I am going to continue squishing them all together until it goes a solid green color. Okay. It still has a bit of the blue and yellow separated in it, but you get the point. You can keep doing this until it's completed. Now I'm going to move on to making a polymer clay. So I have chopped half of each block from my Kmart kit. I'm just going to go through and condition each red, purple, and pink. I think I'm just getting, yeah, the baby wipes. So what I'm going to do is actually clean my hands in between. This is also why I don't generally work with colored clay. I end up just painting everything at the end. But when you're using a cane or making cane, it's really important to use, well, there's no point not using colored clay. It just defeats the purpose. So just going to clean my hands and then continue on. Okay, now I have conditioned the clay. I've run it through my pasta maker to flatten it out all to be the same size. So this polymer cane we are doing to start with is called a jelly roll. So all I'm going to do is make sure that they're all the same size and lay one on top of the other until they're all equal. Okay, now that we've got an even stack, we're just going to roll it from one end to the other, just as you see me do, and this is why it's just called a jelly roll. Now you can have as many layers or as little layers, but you can kind of see what it looks like with the jelly roll as it is. Now as you can see, I also left the scrap clay aside because we might need them later on. And then we just get the cane and we roll it. Now what we're doing here is stretching it ever so slightly with our fingers, pushing, pulling, rolling. What we're trying to do is called condensing. So we're going to take this lump that it is now, we're going to roll it into a snake. Now, how long that snake is up to you. Depends on how small you want your pattern, how much clay you've got, all of that stuff. But yes. Okay, so that's a good enough size for me. I'm just doing this to demonstrate. Cut it in half, and then you can see the pattern. It looks like a swirl, a jelly swirl. I think it's a lolly or something in America. But you can stick them together and make some cool ass patterns. These are just very, very basic, okay? Next, I'm going to repeat the process from the other half of the blocks that I cut earlier. I'm going to run them through my pasta maker, and we're going to do a second cane, which is called a bullseye cane. Now, the bullseye cane is very similar to the last one, except instead of three, we start with one solid color, which is just pink rolled into a snake. Then we're going to... Hurry up, Aaron. Squish, squish, squish. We're going to make it the right size, and then we're basically going to wrap the purple around it, and then we're going to wrap the red around the purple. Okay, so obviously the red was a little bit short. Thankfully I had the scrap clay from earlier. So I'm just going to literally cut a new slice, stick it in there, smooth it over, and then the cane is complete. Now we have rolled out our long snake. This is our jelly roll. We can cut it in half and get a look at what our pattern looks like on the inside. So very basic, very ordinary, but you can compare the two and have a look. But from this, good things will grow. So now I'm just cutting off the ends. You can still see the pattern there, just to clean it up a little bit. And what we're going to do now, you could use it just as it is, but what we're going to do is we're going to get a little bit fancy, and I'm going to start squeezing this into a shape. So what I want to do is kind of squeeze it back together. I want to kind of condense it a little bit, but I'm squeezing one side up. So imagine that the circle is now turning into a teardrop. Um, so I'm just doing it very carefully because you've got to pull all the different colored layers, um, which is easier done than said. Because it actually is an easy process, but it just looks complicated. It does take practice, and obviously I'm rushing this, but as you can see, it's kind of turning into a triangle. Now, I'm going to cut this into 3 pieces, and I'm going to stick them together, and basically what this will do is show you how you can make a whole bunch of different patterns using just one cane. So you can see here, what I'm actually going to do is the same thing on the other side, but I'm intending on having the 6 pieces, and I'm going to make a little bit of a flower. Now that I've got my 6 pieces, I thought I'd try my luck and put the jelly roll that we made earlier in the center. And I'm like, look, I could make it work, but that'd just be silly. So instead, what I decided is I'm going to rip out the jelly roll and I'm going to condense it. You can see the kind of flower pattern, but there's a hole in the middle. I don't need to actually use the jelly roll. You can just squish the petals together to make it as it is. But since I'm showing you what you can and do with clay, I thought I'll get the jelly roll, I'll roll it out smaller, I'll stick it in the middle and see how we go. Okay, so this is just the boring stuff of me tidying it up, making sure it's even, squishing it together a little bit. And now what I'm about to do off camera is get some blue clay and flatten it out on my pasta maker. And I'm going to roll it around the flower petal, just like we did at the beginning for the bullseye cane. That way, it's a normal thing that you do to separate the pattern from uh, when you repeat the pattern on, if you overlay it continuously, there's a bit of color there that breaks it up so it doesn't just all blend into one thing. Okay, now that we've done that, we've got the cane. And once again, just like the other canes, I'm squishing it together evenly, so not to squish one side in more than the other. So it does take a little bit of practice, like I said. I personally use these colors because I know that I don't like this combination. I have no intention of using this cane. Whatever I do with it, I'm going to end up painting over it. So if you want to practice canes, I would suggest doing it on something like this where you're just going to paint over it anyway. And if it turns out that you really love it, then you don't have to paint over it. So just stretching it out as evenly as possible, um, keeping that pattern. Now the very ends, each end is going to warp and look really weird, um, as you can see. Don't worry about that. That is normal. With practice, it'll be fine. But I'm cutting this. I actually cut that too heavy. So you can see it kind of looks like a flower. It kind of looks more like a watermelon to be a weird ass alien watermelon. But you get the idea. If you work out the colors you want to use, you don't have to have the centerpiece that I use the jelly roll for. I think it'd be better if you didn't. But basically, once you're done, you just start slicing off little pieces. You can see that it's clear. That cut, I actually rocked the tissue blade back and forth just slightly to help it so that you're not squishing it down and distorting the pattern and the cane. So now I've got my slice. I can flatten it out. I can stretch it. I can make as big as I want. Again, I'm just playing around here to show you a few things. I'm going to use some of the scrap clay that is around just to decorate it a little bit more. Like I said, I don't like the center of it. Um, there's too much red for my liking. Um, so I'm making, now it's starting to look like a pizza for some reason. But as you can see, this is what I'm saying. Just play around, see what you like, work with the colors. That actually looks a lot better to me. But right, now everything's off cooking. So what I'm going to do is get an empty can. Okay. What we're going to do here is cover it in clay and then use the canes that we've just made to stick around the can. We don't have enough of the cane to cover the entire can, so I'm just going to do it sporadically, which is going to look ridiculous to me. Um, like I said earlier, I had no intention of keeping the pattern anyway, so I'm doing this just to show you what you can do and give you some ideas and let your minds run wild. Um, but at the end, I am going to paint this all to be green, of course. But all I'm doing here is, this is some Sculpey clay that I've got. I just rolled it on the pasta maker. I'm just cutting it. I'm just going to be fitting the clay to the tin, and then I'm going to be able to put the canes in it. Make sure you curl the clay over the lip of the lid so it hugs the clay actually hugs the can, because it's not actually stuck, so the can, if it was completely smooth, would slide out like if it was a Coke can, because we haven't had used any adhesive. Also, make sure to do the bottom. Right, so the base of the can is done. Now we've got our polymer clay slices. I'm just going to show you again, just cutting up a few more slices. Then I will fast forward because there's no point watching me do this. It's like cutting a cucumber. But you just do it ever so slightly and occasionally rock it like I just did there, just so that you're not pushing down in the same spot and skewing the pattern. Okay, now if you like your pattern, here comes the fun part. It's just taking your polymer cane, just going to adjust the camera, and sticking them on however you like. Now, if I had enough, I would be making sure that each cane touched the other, like at least some part of the other cane, because that looks really cool. Now, you can also use multiple canes, multiple different colors, different patterns, however the hell you want to do this. But because I don't have enough, I'm just doing it sporadically all around, and then I will come back and use the jelly roll cane as well to kind of fill in the blanks, dots, fill in the spaces. I could have saved this project had I used a base color other than beige, or had I painted that polymer clay. May have been able to save it as it stood, but I didn't like it anyway, so who cares. Okay, so here's the finished project. What I did was I flattened them all into the clay, so they're really pressed on there, they're never going to fall off. Then I rolled the can back and forth, just to make sure that they were all evenly squished in. Had they been touching each other, they would have bled into each other, and it would have been really cool. Now I'm just going to paint the inside of the can, and I'm not going to worry about the bottom. But now it's ready to go in the oven. Speaking of the oven, now that it's free, here are our teddy bears. So this is the one you saw me make on camera. This is the one with, it's all solid and hard. It feels like clay. Um, this is the one that I didn't attach with toothpicks. So you can see that I used a little bit of pressure, but it didn't take much to snap these parts off. Because I didn't use any adhesive to join them, now you can see it's a little bit harder for me to snap this ear off. That actually snapped there, but I still had to twist it off to get it off the matchstick. So I can just apply a little bit of super glue to stick that ear back on. Same as the other parts, and you can use super glue, but you can see the difference between using armature or sticks, or just sticking clay onto itself. Now you can actually, when you stick two pieces of clay together, you can blend them together, um, but it wasn't appropriate for this project. So yeah, that's our teddy bears. So I'm just going to paint the teddy bear now, and I'll bring it back. Just quickly, this is called a Skinner blend, where you blend two colors or more together and make a gradient rather than blending them fully as two colors. Right, bonus project. Forgot to show you about stamping or embossing. Pushing in an indent with a pattern, such as the pattern roller that I'm about to use. You can draw on clay, you can do whatever you want, use normal stamps to put in patterns, and then decorate them with paint and powders and stuff like that. Right, now using a roller is very, very simple. I'm just being a bit pedantic here. You just get whatever shape you want, you put on the roller and you just roll it with a little bit of pressure and it leaves the indent. Now, I don't particularly like this roller. You can see on screen, if you look closely, there's a line that goes against the pattern where the two patterns meet. So this isn't the best pattern roller. I didn't realize that until I put it down. So I'm going to flip it over. You can just rub it out, but I'm going to flip it over, take notice of where that line is and do it a different way because I prefer a better pattern than that. Right, now that's done, I'm going to apply some powder to the raised parts of the clay. Obviously, this isn't me doing it perfectly. I'm almost out of this gold powder. But it kind of separates and gives dimension, adds a bit of flair and texture. You can use eyeliner or chalk pastel powder. There's a whole range of different products that you can use, but this is called micro powder. Okay, so now I'm just going to take ordinary cookie cutters, cut out some shapes, and do whatever the hell I want with them, which is exactly what you can do. Now, I've done this just to show you how to stamp textures and what you can do with them. I could put a magnet on the back of that heart and stick it on the fridge. I could put photos in the holes that I've appeared. You can do so much with this. This is just, again, inspiration to create your own ideas. Completely cooked, completely painted. Here is my teddy bear. Um, Very simple paint job. Eyes white, bear green, everything nice and shiny. And here is my finished can. Now there's 4 different color changing paints in here, and I embossed some more gold paint on top. Obviously, you can see all the spots. I actually like that effect because when you hold the can, you can actually feel that, so it is textured. And you can put all your clay tools in that. Okay, all done. Here are the magnets. I've put some photos in there as photo frames, which is obviously piss easy to do. Um, Here is the can and our teddy bear that we've made, just to wrap everything up. Now, I didn't go into the jewelry making process of polymer clay because I'm not that type of gay guy, to be honest. But if you are interested in making jewelry, by all means, please go to YouTube, type in polymer clay tutorials, polymer clay jewelry making, whatever you want. Have a look at some of those videos, have a look at some of the artists, watch their techniques, and there's a rabbit hole that you can fall down. And remember, again, this isn't about being the greatest artist or the greatest crafter. This is genuinely about using art as a coping mechanism for problems that you're going through, as an escape to get out of your own head and take a break. Okay, guys, I'm really sorry that this video was so long. I got over excited and put way too much in, but I will put a video up next Friday where we do resin. That will be a much shorter video. Then after that, I will move to putting the art therapy videos up once a fortnight, and it's just going to be whatever I decide to make. And there's not going to be any talking. It's just going to be sped up with a bit of music so you guys can chill out, watch, and hopefully get inspired by whatever it is that's going on. If you do have any questions, feel free to email me at thegreenspsychic@gmail.com. But I really do recommend that you check out YouTube and the playlists. Don't forget to check the description box for the links to some of the other artists and YouTubers that I recommend you guys watching. Sometimes it's just great to watch people do something creative just as background noise, or when you're bored or when you're wanting something different. It does become hypnotizing and relaxing, and it's really cool. I'd say give it a shot. What have you got to lose, really? All right, guys. Well, hopefully I'll see you on Sunday. Hope this helped, and stay creative.